Hey gamers, what's up? I've got a lot of requests to review this game, so here it is. Borderlands 2 for the PlayStation Vita. At first glance, I can confidently say that this is one good-looking Vita game. That is until I actually started playing it, but we'll get to that later. Let's just talk about the things I did like. Visuals are sharp and well detailed, with only a few instances of texture pop-in. They're not very noticeable, and usually only occurred after loading or entering a new area. Gun detail looks really good, and on par with Killzone Mercenary. Environments appear big and open thanks to a really good draw distance. Nice little details in the backgrounds, such as birds flying overhead and snow falling from the sky, help add to the immersion. Nighttime scenes can get a little tough, as it's hard to make out where enemies are located. On the contrary, daytime scenes look excellent, bright, colorful, and well saturated. The game looks really good. Unfortunately, it's hampered by an inconsistent frame rate. This is where the visuals take a nosedive. The game runs great, only when there's no one else on screen. One or two enemies? Okay, but any more than that and you're in for a choppy mess. Throw in some particle effects and you'll get instances so bad you think you were watching a slideshow. The game is still playable, but you'd be lying to yourself if you think the choppy frame rate didn't take away from the overall quality and experience. There are also some bugs to point out. Sometimes you'll see enemies stuck in mid-air or sliding across the screen as they chase after you. Vehicles can get stuck in certain areas, and the game has managed to lock up and freeze on me. Other weird anomalies would appear randomly as well. The occurrence of these technical problems may vary, but just be aware there's a chance you'll come across one during your playthrough. Also, browsing the menu isn't as smooth as it should be either, as there's always a slight delay when switching between different tabs. Now these minor hiccups by themselves don't hamper the graphics too much, but when combined, really brings down what is otherwise a pretty decent looking game. This Vita port fares a lot better in the audio department. Speech is clear and convincing, with a well-written script performed by interesting characters. Soundtrack perfectly fits the setting. Upbeat and energetic during shootouts, but calm and relaxing while you travel the huge open map. It's like the game knows exactly what kind of mood it wants to convey based on the situation. The nice soothing guitar pieces, accompanied by the gentle drum beats, get me every time. Of course it isn't all perfect. There are some weird audio glitches. When the frame rate starts to drop, the audio will sometimes pop or cut off completely. It happens the most when a lot of explosions and particles are flying around. Footsteps are also inconsistent. Sometimes you hear them, and sometimes you don't. Controls are responsive for the most part, even though I was a little overwhelmed at first with the amount of buttons I had to use. Activating the character's skill and throwing grenades with a touchscreen is a breeze. The problem is the back touchpad. To be honest, it sucks. The back left touchpad is used for sprinting, and the back right is used for your melee attack. The melee attack is the one that drove me crazy. It goes off with the slightest brush of your hand. I've already downloaded the 1.04 patch, which allows you to turn down the sensitivity, but as a result your input has a harder time being registered. There's no middle ground. It's either too sensitive or not responsive enough. I constantly found myself going into a melee attack when I intentionally did not. Also, my weapon reload would get interrupted because of this. Don't even get me started on how confusing it was at first to drive a vehicle either. The controls are fine, it's just that playing it properly requires a certain way of holding the Vita, which ultimately becomes tiresome. Now, I've never played the first Borderlands, so I had no idea what to expect here. Assuming it was another on-rails type of shooter, I was quickly disappointed when I found out it wasn't. Looking at the menu at first left me completely overwhelmed. I mean, there is a ton of crap to take in at once. As someone new to the franchise, I really had to take a step back and give myself a few moments to let it all sink in. The character and upgrade system is vast and expansive, but I felt it would have been less intimidating if there was some sort of on-screen tutorial. Getting used to the gameplay at first was difficult. Think of an open-world RPG, but with guns. And like an RPG, level grinding becomes a necessity, so for those who can't endure the repetition, this might not be the game for you. Borderlands 2 can get pretty intense, I won't lie about that. The gunplay is addictive, and the game does a good job of switching things up. Wielding two guns at once truly made me feel like a badass. The characters you meet are funny, with interesting personalities, making it almost worth playing through just for that alone. I can totally understand the appeal of the franchise. Unfortunately, this Vita port does not do it any justice. There are moments when the game appears to reach true greatness, but is quickly overshadowed by an abundance of gameplay bugs and frame rate issues. This is one port that could have used a little more time in development. Borderlands 2 for the PlayStation Vita is recommended only for die-hard fans of the series. Casual gamers, stay away.